Hello, welcome to Record Time. Record Time is a weekly Akashic experience where we explore simple and mysterious themes about personal growth and evolution through the lens of the Akashic Records. My name is Mina, and I'm happy to be here with you. Welcome to friends old and new. And if you're brand new and don't know what the Akashic Records are, or if you're curious about them, I'd invite you to check out my website, minaruchi.com, and there I have a couple of videos explaining all about what the records are and what a reading is. You can even watch me give readings to people there too, so you can really see what is it really like? What am I really talking about? There's also a free guided visualization and lots of other Akashic goodies waiting for you there if you're curious. But for right now, if it's safe and accessible, I invite you to just rest into this moment. If you're multitasking, devote your attention to whatever else it is you're doing. But if it's accessible, see if you can rest into this moment. And notice what that naturally inspires for you. Is that dropping some tension? Is that lowering down? Is it sitting down if you're standing? Or if you, no matter what position you're in, it's like sinking and like almost rooting into wherever it is you are right now. Resting down, pulling yourself down all the way inside yourself. Just breathe at your own pace. And continue to deepen into that restful state as I tune into the records. When something big is happening in your life, you don't necessarily have to meet it with equal bigness. When something big is happening in your life, internally or externally, you don't have to meet that occurrence with equal bigness. So another way to think about this is you don't need to meet chaos with chaos. And they're offering us some imagery. Like if something really big, if you can sense, sometimes, especially if you're into personal growth and personal development, right? This like evolution that's constantly ebbing and flowing within and without. If that's something that you're connected to, that kind of like wave-like process, sometimes you can sense or you just know, or it's very boldly apparent that you're in a transformative moment. You're in like a growth process. And that could look like things happening around you externally. Maybe life is just hectic, right? Lots of stuff is coming at you. Or it's like, yeah, maybe you're just inside this like emergent process of personal growth and transformation. Whatever it is, whether it's external or internal, or maybe a mix of both. When a process like that is happening that can feel big, messy, and chaotic, you don't have to meet the process with equal bigness and messiness and chaos. So the imagery they're offering is if you are on the beach and there were waves coming at you, if there was a big wave coming at you, you wouldn't have to run at the wave with equal force in order for the wave to come to you. The wave is going to come to you no matter what you do. So if there's like a really tumultuous or powerful wave of life coming at you, you don't have to meet it with equal tumult or chaos or largeness. And it's almost like there's just a natural invitation to meet chaos with chaos, right? When things are coming at you, it's easy to get worked up about it and to just get your internal state worked up into a chaotic frenzy. It almost could feel like, oh, things are happening really chaotically, so I have to rise up my chaos level to match it, to meet it. And I don't know if this happens to you, but it definitely happens to me. And it's like when life gets stressful, we get very stressed. And it's like we bring that stress to everything we're doing. And there's this invitation here, and it takes some finesse, it takes practice, it takes awareness to do this. But when a big wave is coming at you, instead of running at it and feeling like me running at this wave is going to complete the cycle or bring it forward, it's almost like acknowledging like what I can do right now. Another way to meet this wave is to stand still and to root down, to anchor down, so that when the wave comes at me, I don't fall down, I don't get knocked back, I don't lose my balance, and it's a different experience. So when something is coming at you, sometimes we have to rise and run up to meet it, right? It's this like meeting, energy to energy. But sometimes it's like something is coming at you whether you want it to or not. And the best thing you could do is, instead of running towards it, anchor and wait for it to come. And this might feel counterintuitive of like, oh, you should rise to the occasion, rise to the challenge, right? This like go get 'em, hustle attitude. But if something big, if life is coming to you, right, that's something it's a larger wave. It's not necessarily within the bounds of our control. So if something big like that is coming inevitably, instead of expending your energy to meet it, to try to control it, to match the energy through like active force, can you wait and meet the energy with like restful, collected force? And so it's not that we're going totally like limp and just like letting the wave crash over us and get knocked down and then wash away. It's like rooting down, so when it comes to you, you're ready for it. And maybe in this there's this like sense of like there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it, and that's not really the case. It's just that this is another way to approach things. And I and the records trust your discernment to know when it's time to meet something and when it's time to like hold and receive it and meet it with a different, quieter, more still, collected, fortified kind of strength instead of a pushing force. So the imagery you can imagine is, if a wave is coming to you, right, instead of running to meet it, it's like watching the wave come and spending that time as you're watching it and tracking it and meeting it and knowing like you're in tune with it. You're attuned to this wave that's coming. You're paying attention. And at the same time, you're allowing your feet to gently, naturally sink into the wet sand, right? And so it's like, okay, my feet are on the sand. And then as you just stand there, you don't have to do anything. And maybe you've had this experience. I love doing this when I'm on the beach. Stand in one spot. Don't do anything. If there's wet sand, you will start to sink in. And before you know it, You'll be ankle deep or shin deep into the sand. And that's the kind of energy that they're offering as another pathway to meet something big. When life comes to meet you in a big way, instead of rushing to meet it, there's this other option of sinking down, using that time to sink down. And then you can imagine this, right? If you're standing in the wet sand, ankle deep, shin deep, when the wave comes to you, you're not moving. You can fully receive that, feel it wash over you, and then feel it go away. And you're in the same spot. And there's a flexibility that comes from like these deep roots, right? And it's the same way that trees sway in the wind with storms. I'm sure you've seen images of like trees bending super far. It's like, I didn't know trees could bend. They don't seem super flexible, and yet they are. So the same way, if you take the time to sink down, root down, anchor yourself into this different kind of still strength, you will find that the rest of your body, the rest of your being is flexible. So when the thing comes, you can move with it and you're still standing, and then you can move with it again as it comes in and out, and you're still anchored to this point. And I think there's one more piece around this, so I'm gonna sit with it for a second. There's this sense of, too, of like, when something big is coming to meet you, you will naturally feel a rise in your own energy because you are wanting to meet it. You are wanting to meet it in some way. But it's almost like, instead of letting that rising energy that's naturally surging to meet this big thing that's happening, right? Instead of letting it spread out, let it collect, let it distill and come together to be like a very clear, fortified, strong kind of way of meeting something, instead of really spread out and scattered. It's like this, and this is an energetic thing, right? This is like an abstract thing, but it's the sense of like pulling your full self together, letting all of that rising energy, right, that temptation, that invitation to meet chaos with chaos, let it come together as fortified strength. Meeting something where it's like, okay, I'm not just standing still and waiting for anything to happen. It's like I'm standing in this like pulsing strength. I'm ready for this. I'm collected. And again, this is an abstract thing. This is something that you can feel into personally and see what that feels like. And literally, you can stand on the ground and just stand still on the ground and feel your balance get more and more solid. Feel your full self get more and more solid and anchored and rooted and grounded just by standing in one spot for several minutes. You don't have to do anything fancy. You don't have to find wet sand on the beach if that's not accessible to you. But if it is, that's great too. But just standing still and feeling your whole self collect into one point in space. It's a different way to meet something powerful, by standing in your own collected power instead of letting yourself scatter in a different way. Okay. That's where I'm going to leave you for today. I hope that made some kind of sense. And I'd love to hear from you if you have questions, or if you just want to share how this landed for you. Feel free to leave a comment or send me a message. I'd be happy to chat with you. And until next time, I'm wishing you well. Namaste.